Washington, D.C., May health caution. Recent research reports indicate that heavy use of alcohol by women during pregnancy may result in a pattern of abnormalities in the offspring termed the fetal alcohol syndrome.
The fetal alcohol syndrome, a combination of birth defects caused by excessive drinking. A growing concern for many years has now become an alarming fact. Among the leading investigators who have focused on this problem is Dr. David Smith.
But I'd like to show you some of the features that we see in these babies that allow us to suspect that the baby has this disorder. Here in these pictures you can see the babies tend to have a short eye slit. That is a consequence of the eye being a bit smaller, and the eye is an early derivative of the brain. They also tend to have a somewhat small mid-face that gives them a little bit different look. They can also have problems of heart development. Occasionally they have a problem of closure of the lip or palate, a cleft lip or palate. Now, these features are all the consequence of the effects of alcohol on early growth and development in this critical period prior to birth. The most serious effects on the developing baby are on its growth. The baby, which normally is growing rapidly prior to the time of birth, is growing slowly, so that by the time of birth they come out as an unusually small baby. We would not mind the smallness in terms of the physical growth alone, but it's the brain growth is also affected, so that the brain is unusually small. Because of the small brain, these babies have mild to moderate to severe mental deficiency, and that is the most serious consequence that they are left with for life.
Round and round with our crayon.
This child was born at the University of Washington, and his development has been observed since birth. His mother was a chronic alcoholic who'd been drinking heavily prior to his birth.
Anna?
When his behavior is compared to a normal child of his own age, he's very deficient.
I can't hear you. How old are you?
A normal child has no problem putting the right shapes in the right box. A child with fetal alcohol syndrome does not even grasp the problem to be solved.
Put it in. Put it in. You go up the stairs.
A normal 3-year-old can easily master the task of walking up and down stairs. Not so the fetal alcohol syndrome child. He has shown some progress on a month-to-month basis, but he has an IQ of 40 and is not showing the ability to catch up with normal children. Nor do we anticipate that he will ever function normally.
Put those in.
Now, the important thing about this disorder is that it is preventable. One of the sad things is that women did not realize that alcohol was dangerous. And even today, many women still do not realize that alcohol is dangerous. That was true for the family that you're about to meet, who have an affected child, and Dr. James Hansen, who's an associate with me, is going to introduce you to this family.
I can remember very well the first time we were talking together, and I mentioned that I thought that some of Kathy's problems might be related to your alcohol consumption during pregnancy. I can remember your reaction. I wonder if you could kind of review what your feelings were when I mentioned that I thought that might be the source of the problem.
Well, it was certainly something that I didn't want to hear. I had no idea at the time that I was pregnant with Kathy that alcohol could create this kind of problem. And then as we went from doctor to doctor, and really some of the medical schools and all, and no one could really tell us what her problem was, and I began to feel way in the back of my mind that possibly alcohol could have contributed to it. It was just a very hard thing to handle, to have you finally say that.
I was frankly very surprised. I hadn't heard about this syndrome, as you call it. I hadn't read about it or heard about it for some reason. And in fact, I was very angry at first, but I'm not now, and I was very surprised.
What was your pattern of drinking like?
Well, I'd go through the day and be fine and do what had to be done, take care of the children. But then at night, as soon as I'd get the kids into bed, of course, I'd feel that I had to have a drink to unwind, and the pattern was that I never stopped with a drink, and I would end up consuming half a bottle of scotch before I would go to bed every night.
So it was really quite a high volume for short periods of time.
Well, I was alone a lot, and it just...
You know, I really did have a hand in this, because during the time she was pregnant with Kathy, I was gone for months at a time. And it was hard for Pat. Very hard. She was alone all the time, really.
Well, guilt feelings are a very difficult thing to deal with.
But when it's a problem that's such as alcohol, that's directly related to your child's health, it's really a hard one to handle. And I don't know that you ever really, you learn to live with that. You don't really handle it, you learn to live with it.
At this time, we don't know what constitutes a safe level of alcohol consumption for a pregnant woman. So our advice to mothers-to-be is, before you take a drink, think of your unborn baby. Alcohol, crisis for the unborn, but a crisis that only a mother can prevent.